Why hello BookTube. My name is Angie and welcome to my channel Angie Rose Nomad. And today we have the last book haul that I'm going to do in quite some time. Knock on wood. I'm going to cross my fingers and we're going to make this happen, so no more books for a while. Like a real while here, guys. I'm not just saying this, even though it sounds like I'm just saying this, I'm not. So let's jump right in with the first book that I have to show you guys. And it is Transcription by Kate Atkinson. I have never read anything by Kate Atkinson. I have recently been obsessed with a podcast called What Should I Read Next? And they recommended Life After Life by her. I think it was the second book. It was either Life After Life or God in Ruins. I think it was the second book. It was about her brother. But this one follows the story of a girl named Juliet Armstrong who, when she is 18 years old, is kind of recruited to help MI5 spy on fascist sympathizers during World War II. I think the year is 1940. And she finds this job to be extremely tedious, but then 10 years later, it's actually events from the past are going to resurface. I have started reading the book, in case you couldn't tell from the bookmark sticking out of it. I am probably about page 94. I have put it down for now because, as I mentioned in a previous video, I was getting overwhelmed with the amount of books that I had started and just needed to focus on getting some done. So I put this one down for now, but I'm going to pick it back up probably next week. And right now we're still at the part where it's kind of getting like the work is tedious. She's still listening in on these next door neighbors for MI5, and it's just the same thing day after day. But I can't wait to see where it goes from there. I'm really liking Kate's writing so far, so no problems, but right now this is just an okay book for me. The next book is Babette's Feast and Other Stories. This is by Karen Blixen. I think that's her actual name, but it's been translated. Another book that I heard about on What Should I Read Next. And this book follows, let's see, I'm just going to read the little blurb on the back. It has different stories in there, but I'm really obsessed with reading Babette's Feast. And it says, it tells the story of a French cook working in a very puritanical Norwegian community who are kind of set in their ways and very, very traditional. But she treats her employers to the decadent feast of a lifetime. It sounded amazing. I believe she won the lottery and then just wanted to cook for all of these people for some reason or another. But yeah, and I know there's been a movie, but I haven't seen it. My next book, I don't want to know anything about, and it is The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. I play trivia with a group of my friends, and one of them, their favorite author is Kate Morton, and he recommended a book. I don't remember which one he recommended, but he likes them all. But me being me, I had to look and see which book was first. This was it, and on the back it says all I need to know. It says a terrible tragedy, forgotten by history, silenced by memory, until now. That's it. I wanna kind of keep this one under wraps and just discover it as I'm reading. The next book I have here is Normal People. This is by Sally Rooney. This follows the story of Connell and Marianne, and they are in the western part of Ireland, and Marianne lives in this huge, huge mansion house, and Connell's mother is the cleaner for her family. Now, in school, their paths kind of took on a different direction, if you will. Connell was extremely popular while Marianne was very, very quiet and learned from painful experiences to kind of stay away from her classmates. But eventually they're drawn back together, and it's the story of them and their relationship, and I believe it has romance in it, and it just sounds fantastic. I've heard nothing but great things about this book. The next two books need no explanation at all, and that is because hopefully everyone has read them, and if you haven't, you really should try the series. But this is the 20th anniversary edition of Harry Potter, Gryffindor edition, and Hufflepuff edition. I got Gryffindor edition because I really like the red. I think it's pretty, it's so shiny, and yeah, that's what it looks like on the side. And I got Hufflepuff edition because I'm a Hufflepuff and proud. What more can I say? That's it. Done. video done. Not really. The video is not done. I am staring at another stack. I'm just kind of trying to play shuffle books so I can have more room. A book that I'm not going to hold up here because I have talked about in another video is I don't remember it. The Little Shop of Found Things. Yeah, that's the book. And I've talked about it in depth in another video. I think it was my first Friday Reads video, so if you want to know more about that book, you can go check out that video. So I recently discovered a new bookstore in my town. It took the place of an old bookstore, but this bookstore is way, way, way better. I walked in and I got asked at least 3 different times if I was finding everything okay. Well, I haven't found the carts, so no, I'm not. But it was a great bookstore, and it has so much various items, not just books, but like bookish things. It was fantastic. It's called Novel. I don't know if they're like a chain. I don't think they are, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I got this first book because I wanted to read a series by this author, but I wanted to start with something else, if that makes sense. So the book I got is Fall of Giants, and this is by Ken Follett. He is the author of The Pillars of the Earth. I don't know the name of that series, but I have a tendency to like more contemporary novels or things that have taken place in the 20th century. And I just didn't know if I would be able to really get into the time period of Pillars of the Earth as well as his writing style. So I wanted to start with something first. And I think this is book 1 of the Century trilogy. And it starts in 1914, I believe. So I knew that I would already like that time period in history. And 1911, excuse me. I knew I would already like that time period in history. And now it's just a matter of if I can get into his writing or not. This is massive. But I'm just going to read the back blurb. It says a 13-year-old Welsh boy enters a man's world in the mining pits. An American law student rejected in love finds a surprising new career in Woodrow Wilson's White House. A housekeeper for the aristocratic Fitzhuberts takes a fateful step above her station, while Lady Maud Fitzhubert herself crosses deep into forbidden territory when she falls in love with a German spy. And 2 orphaned Russian brothers embark on a radically different path when their plan to immigrate to America falls afoul of war, conscription, and revolution. Sounds really, really interesting. Can't wait to give Ken Follett a go. The second and last book that I picked up from Novel is Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. I love Kristen Hanna. I love Kristen Hanna, you guys. So it takes place in 1941 in Leningrad in Russia, and it follows the story of Anya Whitson, I believe is who it's going to follow. That kind of makes it sound a little vague, but just, you know, the story of what was going on in Russia at that time, how they were cut off from supplies, how mothers were trying to get their children out of the country because they were so secluded. But then we flash forward to 2000, and Anna is not doing too well. She has 2 daughters, and I think she's on her deathbed. And she gathers her daughters, Nina and Meredith, and basically tells the story of what happened in 1941. And it says that in a quest to uncover the truth behind the story, Nina and Meredith discover a secret so shocking, so impossible to believe, it shakes the foundation of their family and changes who they believe they are. Love Kristen Hanna, love The Nightingale. I know I'm going to love this as well. The next book I have is actually a part of a series that I have been wanting to read for quite a while now, and it is Still Life by Louise Penny. This is the first book in the Chief Inspector Armand Gamache series. So Armand and his team are called to investigate the scene of a suspicious death on Thanksgiving Day. So Armand gets there and sees the victim, a woman by the name of Jane Neal, who is this fixture in the tiny hamlet town of 3 Pines. And the locals think it was just this tragic hunting accident, but Armand actually thinks that there is something foul afoot, and so he's going to investigate. And I have heard amazing things about this series. Cannot wait to read this. Next book I have is A Spool of Blue Thread by Ann Tyler. This follows 4 generations of the Whitshank family, just their lives and, what's going on with them, and it kind of centers around the house that has always anchored them, and it just sounded really, really good. Next up, we have The Bookshop of Yesterdays by Amy Meyerson. This follows the story of Miranda Brooks, who used to love to go into her Uncle Billy's bookshop, and he would give her little scavenger hunts to do, and she just had such a great time. However, on her 12th birthday, Billy and Miranda's mother have this huge falling out, and she doesn't see him again. 16 years later, she gets a call that says Billy has died, but he's left her this bookshop. And she goes to the bookshop, which is in not the best condition. It's kind of teetering on the edge of going out of business, and discovers that her Uncle Billy has left her one last scavenger hunt in clues around the shop and things hidden in the apartment upstairs and the name of the bookshop itself. And so she's trying to save the bookshop while honoring her uncle. And along the way, she meets a cast of characters that can give her more information about her uncle, as well as allude to this dark family secret that her mother was hiding. On the inside, it says, a woman inherits a beloved bookstore and sets forth on a journey of self-discovery in this poignant debut about family, forgiveness, and a love of reading. Went to the library and I went into their used bookstore and got 5 books for $6.50. The first book that I got from there is She's Come Undone. This is by Wally Lamb, who I've never read anything by. This was part of Oprah's book club. Good to know. But this follows the story of 13-year-old Dolores Price. And Dolores spends a lot of her time watching television and eating all sorts of bad food, and her mother is just extremely anxious. So I don't know what's going on in Dolores's personal life to have led up to this point. But when she finally gets to young adulthood, she is 257 pounds, and she wants to give herself one last chance before, going belly up, is what it says on the back of the book. And this is just her coming of age tale, and it sounded really intriguing. It sounded extremely relatable. Not the fact that Dolores was always in front of the television when she was a child, because I was active in school activities and hanging out with my friends, but weight has always been something that I have struggled with in my life, and I want to see how Wally Lamb deals with this subject. The next book that I have sounds extremely interesting, and it says on the front, an absorbing thriller steeped in history. It is called The Eight. This is by Catherine Neville. I'm just going to go ahead and read the back because I don't want to miss any of the details. So it says, New York City, 1972. A dabbler in mathematics and chess, Catherine Vallis is a computer expert for a Big 8 accounting firm. Before heading off for a new assignment in Algeria, Kat has her palm read by a fortune teller. The woman warns Kat of danger. Then an antiques dealer approaches Kat with a mysterious offer. He has an anonymous client who is trying to collect the pieces of an ancient chess service purported to be in Algeria. If Kat can bring the pieces back, there will be a generous reward. The south of France, 1790. Merle de Remy and her cousin Valentine are young novices in the fortress-like Montblain Abbey. With France aflame in revolution, the two girls burn to rebel against constricted convent life, and their means of escape is at hand. Buried deep within the abbey are pieces of a Montblain chess service, once owned by Charlemagne. Whoever reassembles the pieces can play a game of unlimited power. But to keep the game a secret from those who would abuse it, the two young women must scatter the pieces throughout the world. That is The Eight, and it sounds fantastic. The next one is The Falls. This is by Joyce Carol Oates, and it follows the story of Araya Erskine, whose husband has just plummeted from Niagara Falls. He's thrown himself into the water, and she stands vigil for 7 days waiting for his body to be recovered. And along her side, waiting with her, is this bachelor named Dirk Burnaby. And it follows the story of a family in turmoil, as well as, relationships, love affairs, all sorts of things like that. But then it says that their lives eventually become poisoned with distrust, greed, and murder. Who's gonna die? Who's gonna die? Was her husband actually pushed? We'll find out, won't we? We'll find out. The next one I have is The Lavender Garden. This is by Lucinda Riley, who I've never read anything by before. I want to say I've heard of her before, but I can't really remember. The author's name looked familiar. That's why I picked it up. But also the reason I picked it up is because it follows a dual narrative. So we go into 1998. Yes. When a girl named Amelia has inherited this chateau in France. And then we go back to my favorite time in history, which is 1944 in Paris. And there is another woman, her name is Constance, and she is actually working for Churchill, but she's been separated from everybody. She's tasked to go undercover, and she doesn't really know anyone. So she finally involves herself with this family that hosts these German officers over for dinner quite a lot, but they're also planning a revolution against the Nazi Party. Yep, this is my book. So as I was checking out with those books, I actually saw a book that I have been wanting to read for quite a while, and it is called City on Fire. This is by Garth Risk Halberg. And this is another one that I'm going to read the cover of because it follows multiple different people. So we're not going to leave anybody out. So it says New York City in 1976. Meet Reagan and William Hamilton Sweeney, estranged heirs to one of the city's great fortunes. Keith and Mercer, the men who, for better or worse, love them. Charlie and Samantha, two suburban teenagers seduced by downtown's punk scene. An obsessive magazine reporter and his idealistic neighbor, and the detective trying to figure out what any of them have to do with a shooting in Central Park on New Year's Eve. The mystery, as it reverberates through families, friendships, and the corridors of power, will open up even the loneliest seeming corners of the crowded city. And when the blackout of July 13th, 1977 plunges this world into darkness, each of these lives will be changed forever. That is City on Fire, and it sounds fantastic. Woo, okay, so those are the books that I got mainly in December and then the last couple in January. I have a lot of reading to do, in other words. Have you guys hauled any good books? And if you are trying to place yourself on a book buying ban, do not listen to a podcast called What Should I Read Next? Bad idea, guys. Bad idea. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to become part of the tribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.